it's Betsy, and today we have a fun video for you. We're going to be doing my first collab, and I'm so excited with who I'm going to be collabing with, which is Leorah Hallel Goldberg. I will take and link her channel up in the cards and hopefully put a picture up here if I figure out how to do that. You know, I'm not that tech savvy when it comes to the editing portion, but I will get it right because she is an absolutely amazing creator to be collabing with. She is definitely a lover of colorful fashion and makeup, but her channel is more than just beauty. She does some lifestyle videos. She's talked about her infertility journey, and I just feel like she is my soul sister from across the world because we have so many things in common. She's a mom and a wife just like I am, but she does it a little bit more than me because she's got 7 babies and I've only got 3. She has a veritable farm of rescue animals, and y'all know all 6 of my babies are all rescues. You know, we can't pass up taking in an animal. And she's a business owner. She has Leorah Cosmetics, and she also does Leorah Styling. So she's on Instagram as Leorah Cosmetics. She's just phenomenal though, and I definitely recommend you checking her out. If you like my content, hopefully you will like hers. But she had an idea to do a collab of our favorite and like the best and the worst palettes from 10 different brands. Now for me, this was a little bit difficult to do because I do declutter on a regular. If I don't like it, I get rid of it. So for me, some of these are more about color story and not about formula. Because as I said, I get rid of things on a regular basis. Plus, if I didn't own enough from a brand, I didn't feel like including it in here. I wanted it to be things that I actually have used quite a bit and know the formula of. So that's where we're going. So we're gonna start off with BH Cosmetics, and we're gonna start off with my favorite, and then we will go to the worst, which again, the worst is relative because I love BH Cosmetics and I don't feel like there's a bad thing from BH Cosmetics. So my favorite from BH Cosmetics, and I've had this for a long time, is the original Zodiac palette. You've got some really good colorful mattes in here, plus their baked shimmer formula is gorgeous. Like this shade Aries, look at this. And the mattes in here are so good. Like this matte army green, look at that. I mean, and that's just me barely dipping in. And I just think that the colors in here are super fun. You can get, you know, a very pretty neutral look, or you can go with something that has a little bit more of those grungier colors, which is what I love. You know, I wear colorful makeup, but a lot of times I like to keep it more grungy is the best way to describe it. Toned down. I like when a color looks a little dirty. You know, maybe that says something about me. But this is the best for me from BH Cosmetics. Now, the worst for me from BH Cosmetics is just color story. And that is from the Sweet Shop collection, and this is the Sugar Cone palette. Now, do I think this is a bad palette? No. I think it is a wonderful palette. And if you are looking for a good neutral palette, this is it. This is just not what I'm going to reach for on a daily basis because I don't wear nude eyeshadow all that much. I may not wear a lot of bright colors, but nude is not always my favorite. But again, the eyeshadow formula is wonderful. Wonderful. I mean, look how easy those just swatched out. But again, this is just not a palette that I reach for very often because of the color story behind it. So, but I mean, pretty much for the most part, everything I've tried from BH Cosmetics, I like. So, that'll tell you something. Next up, we're gonna go over the best and the worst from Natasha Denona. So to me, the worst from Natasha Denona is the Mini Retro palette. And part of the reason why, to me, this is the worst is I don't feel like there's a whole lot of depth in this to get a complete eye look. Do the shadows perform beautifully? Yes. But as you can see, the only thing I could really do with this is use the gray because the pink is almost my skin tone. I mean, the shadows perform amazingly, just like all the other Natasha Denonas. It's just, again, this is color story for me, not performance. Now, I do have some that I don't like because of performance, so don't worry. And my favorite is the Natasha Denona Metropolis. This was holiday last year, and she is stunning. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. And I love it because it has those grungy colors that I love so much, and the sparkles that are just phenomenal from Natasha Denona. And she's a pricey palette. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is a $129 palette, but I think that it's worth every penny. I love to use this. You can see that I have used it quite a bit. And I think that it just has a little bit of everything. Like, this is a palette that if everything in my palette collection disappeared, this would be one of the first things that I replaced, because I love this color story so much. I can get very neutral looks, I can get very warm looks, I can get green grungy looks. So to me, this is probably one of my favorite palettes of all time. So that is a definite. So we're gonna, darn it, drop some eyeshadow. So next up is Melt Cosmetics. Now, if you do not know, I love Melt Cosmetics. I own all of the palettes from them. I don't own any of the stacks, but I do own all of the palettes. Now, my worst from them is the Millennial Pinks. The formula on this is okay. It's just not as good as some of the other from Melt. So it's pretty. It's just not my favorite color story. And again, it's not the best Melt formula. So mainly, again, that one just doesn't perform as well as I'd like. Plus, it's a little bland. Like, there's only so many looks you can do with this, and I don't know why they needed the black and the gray. Like, I would have rather just kept this charcoal gray in here. I mean, it performs well. It just doesn't perform as well as other Melt shadows. So I don't think this is up to par with my favorite Melt palette, which is the Gemini. I've had this since release. I have talked about this many a times on my channel because this is my favorite palette. Out of all of my palettes that I own, this is one of my tops. This is probably my absolute favorite because this grungy green side right here is so good, and I love this gold shade. Look at that. Look at those. And I mean, this is years old and it still swatches, but you still get all of the nudes, like those warm nudes, those poopy browns. But look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? I mean, you just can't get anything better than that. And I think these both of the Melt palettes retail for $58 each. And I mean, if I were gonna tell you to choose one, if you can only have one Melt palette, it would be Gemini. I mean, and I love my Melt palettes. It's just Gemini. This is my favorite palette. So now we're gonna jump up into some luxury. And this, like, real luxury. So my favorite from Givenchy is the LA palette Midnight Skies. This is what the outside packaging looks like, and part of the reason why I love this is it holds a special place. My husband bought this for me for Christmas when we were at Disney World in 2018, and I love the shimmers in here. It reminds me of the Moon Dust by Urban Decay, and I mean, they're nothing super spectacular, but they are just really pretty glittery eyeshadows that you don't get a lot of fallout from. And it's just, to me, these are great little eyeshadow toppers. And again, it holds a special place for me. Now, when you talk about other Givenchy palettes, I think they're crud. And this is the LE9DE Givenchy. So this is the Cool Tone palette from Givenchy. And I bought this. This was $65. If you look, all of the shades are supposed to have like that pyramid shape to it. I have literally used this palette one time and used that much shadow just to get a look, because the mattes in here are atrocious. I mean, there's no real payoff or pigmentation behind it. I bought it because I liked the shimmers in here, and the shimmers in here are good. Like this gray shimmer, that's a pretty shimmer. The more purpley, they're pretty. The shimmers aren't bad, but there's only 3 shimmers and one of them isn't even that good of a shimmer. The purple one down at the bottom isn't like highly metallic, and I just feel like for 9 shades for $65, I expect a whole lot more from an eyeshadow palette. I mean, I really do. And that's what irks my nerves about it. It's just, you're paying that much money and you're not getting anything for it, or at least that's how I feel. So that's a no. Okay, next up is Shroud Cosmetics. Or Shroud Cosmetics. They used to be Shroud, and this one is, again, this is Color Story. This has nothing to do with formula because the formula is amazing. The palette that is my least favorite from them is the Creepy Cute. And I own all of their palettes, so I feel a little bit better about doing them. And the only reason this is my least favorite is because this is a pastel palette. They're all mattes, which I don't typically reach for an all matte palette. And they're just a little ashy on my skin tone. Pastels, for me, are a hard thing to achieve because I am of a medium skin tone. I'm very olive, and pastels a lot of times will look extremely ashy on me. Do I like the pastels that are in here? Yes. Do I think they're formulated well? Yes. The palette is beautiful. It's just that I don't wear pastels because pastels don't look the best on me, so that's why this is the least favorite. Now, my favorite from Shroud is the Arcana palette, which looks like this. Again, this grungy color story is everything to me, even though I'm not really wearing a grungy color story right now. But look at this. I mean, their formula is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Their shimmers are stunning. And their mattes are great. And they're an indie brand. So, I mean, this is like my dream to talk about. So, Shroud, everything that I own from them is great. It's just, this is my jam. This is my favorite. Now, when I get It's Freaking Batson, we'll see if that's my jam more. Okay. But those are good. Next up is Juvia's Place. And we'll go with the best first. Again, you can kind of see a theme running along this of what I like to use. Now again, I love a good colorful look, but my color story I tend to go for is burnt, dirty colors, I guess is the best way to say it. And the Nomad by Juvia's Place is everything. It is a great palette. Juvia's Place is super affordable. The shadows perform like a dream. I mean, look at this. I mean, it speaks for itself. I mean, those are just gorgeous. Look at that shimmer. And to me, that is the quintessential fall palette. But I love these kind of colors all year round. Again, I love a good grungy eye. Grunge is like my thing. So the Nomad is my top pick, and I think it's like 15 bucks. My least favorite from Juvia's Place, and again, this is color, is the taupes. Okay, so they've started releasing these little mini 6-pan palettes. This is my least favorite because it is just not like a good color story on me. But I bought them all. So these are the 3 matte shades. Notice a problem? you can only see the bottom one. So that's why I don't like it. The shimmers are great, but if I want to use this palette, I have to use it in conjunction with something else because the mattes just don't work on me. So the taupes is my least favorite, or the worst from Juvia's Place. Again, worst is in, you know, it kind of depends on what you're thinking. So next up, we're gonna talk Huda Beauty. My least favorite by Huda Beauty is the Neons, the green palette. One, because there are only, this is supposed to be a green neon palette. There are 3 neon green shades and they are chalky. They're not my favorite. I like the pink and the orange one better. You can see how terribly those swatched. Like you have to, for me to use this, I have to try to use it on a white eyeshadow primer. And the color story is not neon. I mean, it just isn't. And I have neon eyeshadows that I like better than this, but I own the rest of them, so I will continue to own them. Now, my favorite from Huda Beauty, which might be a shock, is the New Nudes. Because if I'm going to go for a pink, like a nude look for the most part, I love a good pinky purpley nude look for myself. And that's what this looks like. And I just think that the color story is like really good. The shimmers are, look at that. I mean, just look at that. The shimmers in here are so unique. The ones with these like little pearly bits, you can look at that, how foiled those are. And I know I can reach into this palette and do a beautiful, complete nude look with no effort whatsoever. You know, it's one of those palettes, and the best way for me to describe it is it's one of those palettes you can grab for and you know you're going to get a good look. And for me, that's why I keep it around. I mean, I love this palette. And this is my favorite Huda Beauty palette. And sometimes that changes, but I just think that that is the best. Okay, next up is ColourPop. So my favorite palette from ColourPop, again, might surprise you, is the Sweet Talk palette. Ah! A shade fell out, a shade fell out. Man down, man down. It's one of those super shock shadows. Now I've got peachy corally eyeshadow on in between my legs. But to tell you how much I've used this, you know, I know it's a pressed glitter, but there is pan. There is pan in that pressed glitter. And I don't hit pan on eyeshadows, ever. I have been a makeup user, an avid makeup wearer for a long time. You know, since I was like 12 is when I really started playing with eyeshadow. And so that is what, 25 years? 25 years? Yeah, 25 years. And I have never used up an eyeshadow because I love playing with makeup, but I've always owned a lot and never really used anything up. But I used that. And this is just the best warm neutral palette. Like, to me, again, I choose this because I can complete a good grungy peachy look that is just my jam, and I adore this palette. This is my favorite, and it's so inexpensive. So inexpensive. Now, next up is my least favorite from ColourPop, and that is the Candy Castles from ColourPop. Like, who was this made for? Because this is not made for me. All of the matte shades are atrociously pale. Like, that's a sequin shade. So there's like literally 3 mattes in here that don't have glitter in them. And as you can see, they're different shades of ash or chalky. They just don't work on my skin. And like the shimmers that are in here, most of them are sequin shades, which when I say a sequin shade, it's a matte with a glitter. So this first pink one is, the yellow one is, the mint, this, and then the darkest color. So these are all mattes with glitter. The bottom 2 colors are about the only two I can wear. I mean, look at that. Those are just ashy, ashy, ashy. So that's why it's my least favorite. I mean, it's like, who was this palette made for? Now, I know that Candyland is pastel, but you can do pastel to kind of show you the difference in quality where a pastel will show up. Like, this is the mint pastel from the Creepy Cute. Shows up on my skin. Yes. Looks like it has color to it, right? This is the mint from ColourPop. It's terrible. Terrible. It was not even, there was not enough pigmentation to show up on a deeper skin tone. That's like my biggest pet peeve with the whole thing. So, next up, we're gonna talk ABH. Now, when the Riviera came out, this is my least favorite. It looks like this. I was super excited. ABH was doing a brighter color story, and I am a girl, like, okay, so I love my grungy colors, but a good pink eyeshadow or a good purple eyeshadow are, yes, everything. Those aren't bad, but the shimmers are very chunky, crusty. Like, I'm gonna see if I can show you this. Like, whenever I swatch those, it leaves so much texture behind, and the color story really isn't super cohesive. And the shimmers are a little lackluster compared to other ABH shimmers. And, you know, they came out with this, and then right away, right after, they came out with Alyssa Edwards. I would have been fine just getting the Alyssa Edwards. I love Alyssa Edwards, and this just didn't perform as well as I thought it would. I mean, because especially like in the mattes, once you take away, you know, like that section, it's a boring neutral palette. The packaging is super cute, but it's a boring neutral palette. Now, my favorite from ABH is the Norvina palette. I think this is volume 3. And that is this one, because it has brights, it has greens, it has fall tones that I love. But I also love the shimmer formula that's in here. They're so pretty, and I am a girl who loves a good shimmer, you know. But you see how those don't have that chunkiness to them? So I definitely prefer the shimmers in the Norvina palettes. Now, I thought it was kind of shady how they came out, but I do love the mattes in here too. Like, those are mattes, brights that will show up without looking ashy on my skin. Take note, Huda, for the green. And my hand's wet. So hold on, let me re-swatch the yellow and the green because my hand is wet. So that does make a difference on how things swatch. But using a light colored eye primer, I can do all kinds of fun looks with this. Okay. See that yellow? Now you can see the green. You see how much brighter those are? And that's on my natural skin tone. That's no primer underneath. And those I can work with. That's why I like this. That's definitely why I like this. So, that is a definite yes. So this is my favorite ABH palette. And I do like the Norvina palettes because I love the color selection to them. I love color. Now, we're gonna get into the mother of all palettes. So, Pat McGrath. My least favorite is the Eye Ecstasy Sublime, which looks like this. I feel like the packaging is cheap. I like the other one that's better in this because the color story is better. It is all shimmers, which is fine by me, but these are not the Mother's Special shimmers. Now, they are gorgeous, don't get me wrong, and I think that they perform well. It's just this is my least favorite from her, because I think that the color story and everything behind this is just boring. It's boring AF. It is not anything that I'm gonna write home to mom about and be like, oh my goodness, I found the most phenomenal eyeshadow, because I didn't. But they perform well. And they retailed originally for $25, so to try out Pat McGrath, this was a great way. And I think you can get them for like 14 bucks now on Pat McGrath or on Sephora. So they're still good. It's just this one is boring AF, just to let you know. Now we're gonna get into mama's favorite. This is the Pat McGrath Mothership 8 Divine Rose 2. So packaging is super luxe, and it better be, because this sucker is $125. But I mean, mama loves her some Pat McGrath. That's the rest of the motherships. And you know, I had the option to buy this with the pink packaging, but I bought it with the black because I wanted them all to be cohesive, because I'm a weirdo like that. I do not like how fingerprinty this gets. But you open this sucker up and it is stunning. Pinks, oh yes. I love some good pink eyeshadows, but this shade right here, I throw away the little card thing that goes along with it. Okay, so you see how when I shift my hand, this is a multi-chrome to die for. But look at that. You can see just how I changed my hand. That right there makes it worth it to me. And don't get me wrong, the rest of the shades, like the pink, are gorgeous. The plum, I can get some phenomenal eye looks out of this. Oh, wrong one. I mean, mama knows. Oh, if you see that shift, I mean, that just gets me every time. And it has her special shades, which is what you want when you're buying Pat McGrath. The champagne, look at that. I mean, I don't care who you are. That is gorgeous. Look, I mean, look at that. That is everything for an eye look, everything. The gold. I mean, those are what make these palettes. I'll be honest. If Pat McGrath, if it were an all matte palette, girl, I ain't buying. Her shimmers, the multi-chrome, I mean, that is everything. That is what makes me buy this, is those. I mean, that's everything. So, that's talking about my best and worst from 10 different brands. If I mention some that you like, that's okay, because how we do makeup is different. You know, what I like may not be what you like, and vice versa. Because, you know, a lot of people aren't into the grungy colors like I am. I mean, that is what I wear. But don't forget to check out Leorah's channel. Again, she's phenomenal. You will love her, because I do. Don't forget to check me out on all my social media, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, and Instagram. And I will link Leorah in the description box, and I'll try to leave a pinned comment. But I guess that's it, so we'll see y'all later. Bye.